Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here back with Jerrika and Alex. We are two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Jer, how you doing?
Not too bad. How have you been?
Good. Trying to enjoy the winter as much as possible because it's just like in my blood to hate it, but trying to enjoy it. How about you?
Yeah, no, I feel yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy. I just kind of mentioned to you that I'm in the middle of a move, and it's honestly been so eye-opening how little of things you need to live. You know, everything is completely emptied, and I've been living now for about a week, and I still have 3 more weeks with just about nothing, like one pan, one knife, one fork, and everything. And it's honestly so eye-opening, and it feels so good. Yeah. I just want to purge everything now.
Well, it's really interesting because you see people that live in really small spaces and you wonder how you can do it, but you're exactly right, because as you know, obviously we recently sold our house too, so we put everything into boxes that we didn't need for the staging of the house, which was basically everything. And a lot of those boxes I haven't had to open. A lot of those boxes is stuff that I really don't need. I took a bunch of stuff to the dump, bunch of stuff to the secondhand store, threw out a bunch of stuff, and it's just like, You're exactly right. There's a few things you could almost get away with like half the size you have if you just downsize to the essentials, right? And it's if we have more space, we fill more space.
That's how it goes. Like, who needs 4 whisks? Like, nobody. So, things like that add up over time. You don't even realize. So it feels so good to just, as I'm moving, I'm packing, I'm like, one of this. And like, my mom's going to have the best yard sale of her life this year because she's giving her everything.
That's just it. Yeah, I'd rather not even move with extra stuff. I'd rather just be like, if we need it down the road, we'll buy it again.
That's exactly. I've been getting rid of every piece of furniture that I don't think will fit or will use, and it feels really good. So I recommend that to everyone.
Is the new place you're moving into bigger or smaller?
It's about the same. Less storage space, but living space is the same.
The place we're moving into is smaller, so we're definitely like making the decisions. Okay, what has to stay?
Yeah. No, good for you guys. It feels good. So that's my story for you.
What do you got for a topic today?
Okay, so I've been seeing on social media a lot of different topics kind of circulating, like a little statement, and then I've been seeing a lot of fitness professionals kind of giving their advice on it. So I thought I'd take those statements and we can kind of give our take and what we think about these random kind of fitness topics.
Okay.
A lot of them I think we've probably touched on in past podcasts, but I think that they're definitely great to kind of enhance and make note of again.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So the first one of them I saw, and this is one we talk about all the time with our clients, is a statement like, and we can reword this however, I ate bad food this weekend. I had chips and a donut. Right? That's a common one. Like, they call bad food and they relate it to donut, chips. Like, we can go on and on those types of foods. So I just want to talk about like our take on that statement.
Cool. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Whatever you want. If you have anything you want to say off the hop, then you can roll with it.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is like clearing our heads of the idea that there are foods that are off limit and foods that are on limit, because what happens is that pushes you into that all or nothing mindset really quickly, where you try to follow a plan where these things are not allowed, so that once I have one of these things, it's like, well, now I've messed that up. So I should probably just enjoy this for the time being, enjoy a little bit more than I would have. And then when I'm ready, I'll get back on track, not eating any of it again. Whereas if we go into with the mindset that anything is allowed within moderation, and after I have that donut, I just need to get right back on track, then there's no punishment. You don't have to feel bad. It's just getting right back to what you've been doing, and there's no guilt associated with that, because there shouldn't be guilt tied to food, right? Like, we should be allowed to enjoy anything that we want to enjoy within moderation.
That's exactly it. And I'm glad that you touched on that guilt point. I think that the problem is exactly the association between a single donut, and bad food, right? That's not the problem. The one, handful of chips, two handful of chips, or the one donut, the three cookies, that's not the problem. The problem is what happens later. It's the like you said, the all or nothing mindset. It's the guilt from eating those two handful of chips that leads to eating more, or that leads to the 3 days down the road. That's the issue.
I think the biggest issue is just following a plan that's too restrictive. I think we've all been there, where it's like you're trying to do something like, I've got it nailed down to the T, what nutrients I need, and I'm only going to eat this much. And then if you see something like a cake on the counter, it's like, well, I'm not going to touch that because I can't fit it in. But then something like Timbits or like a bag of chips is on the counter. You're like, well, I could sneak one, and then their whole world blows up because you weren't allowing yourself to go off at all, and that one little nibble just sets you off, and then you eat the cake and you eat the whole bag of chips. But if you can just be a little less restrictive and allow yourself a little bit of these things here and there, you're probably going to avoid those massive binges.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it also kind of circles back to the, a calorie being a calorie, right? So, a calorie is obviously a calorie. It's a unit of measurement, just like a kilometer is a kilometer or something like that, right? It's a unit of measurement, but you often hear people explaining foods being more nutritious versus less nutritious. And that's kind of like the new way of defining food versus good food versus bad food. It's foods that are more nutritious versus less nutritious. And I think that because they both play an important part in our day-to-day activities. And this kind of ties into the next statement. So I'm just going to roll with it, because you talked about having a diet that's too restrictive. And another statement I see often is, I can't stick to my healthy diet for more than a week or two. The problem with that is what are you defining as a healthy diet?
Correct.
Right? And then that leads to, a lot of people equate that healthy diet to eliminating foods that we love, eliminating XYZ foods because they're less nutritious. When in reality, especially with Breaking Down eFitness, our focus is adding in, right? And Coach Kelly talks about this not just with nutrition, but in all habits of our day-to-day activities. She talks about finding pockets to add in better things versus eliminating.
Yep. I think it's just a huge problem in the diet, the health and fitness industry, where we associate healthy eating with extremes. And nobody wants slow progress, which is part of the problem. We all want to see results quickly, right? And in order to see results quickly, we need to create big sacrifice. But when we create big sacrifice, we lose the sustainability aspect of what we're doing. And I think sustainability is what everybody needs to be chasing, whether it's in your fitness, your health, your nutrition. Sustainability is the only thing worth chasing, because if it's not something that you're going to be able to stick to, then it isn't worth it. Don't get me wrong, like that last minute push before a wedding or a trip, like those kind of things happen. That makes sense. But like, if you're constantly this person that's like going hard for a month off the rails, going hard for a month off the rails, you're doing it wrong. Like, find that happy medium where you can stick to it.
And you won't see changes there, right? Because you'll see a drop, then you'll see a spike, then you'll see a drop, then if you look at that median average, it's going to be the same.
Or worse, probably most people who do that roller coaster will just slowly get further and further and further from their goals, I would guess. Yeah. Because you can only do that extreme when you're very, very motivated. And we know that motivation comes in waves. So it's something that you need to develop the discipline, habits, skills to set up while you're motivated, it's great to start, but set them up so that you can stick to them when the motivation dips. And that's how you find sustainability, is what will this look like when I'm not feeling as motivated as I am now?
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, like obviously seeing progress does require sacrifice, but I'm just trying to kind of circle back onto to not creating that unhealthy relationship with food. And that exactly, there can be two different items sitting in front of you. And yes, maybe one is, again, more nutritious, less nutritious, but finding ways to fit them in. And that's kind of our priority, is making sure that we're not tossing all of our favorite foods out the window, because when we toss all of our favorite foods out the window, we're not happy. And if we're not happy, we're not going to see progress at the end of the day, because we're not waking up excited to reach our goals. We're waking up miserable to reach our goals. And that's not going to work.
For sure. For sure. Your goal and the action plan tied to it have to align with one another.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Another one, this kind of switches gears a little bit. Someone had said, I see one that's like, I don't have enough time to exercise each day, or like, I don't have that 1 hour to devote to exercise. So why even bother? And I know we've touched this one before, but I think it's definitely worth kind of hitting again.
A lot of this all circles back to that all or nothing mindset. And this is, I think I've been seeing this a lot lately, actually, where we compare ourselves to when we were at our best. So we compare ourselves to when we were a college athlete or a high school athlete, or even last year when I was kicking ass on my diet and kicking ass on my plan. This is what I was doing. So instead of saying like, well, when I was doing my best, I was working out for an hour 5 times a week. Okay, is that still possible for you right now? Maybe not. Seasons change, time changes, priorities change. So what is possible right now? Because we know that falling into the nothing, if I can't do 5 1-hour workouts, I'm going to do nothing, is not going to get us closer to our goals. It's not going to make us feel better. So what can I commit to right now, right? Like, can we find a 20-minute block or a 15-minute block that we can fit in? Because that's still miles ahead of nothing.
Absolutely. And when you were talking about different kind of places in your life, it made me think of a lot of our clients or current clients that like pre-pregnancy or pre-kids, for the moms and dads, right? Pre-kids, that could have been, 10 months ago, I was able to fit this in. But now you cannot compare, because basically your life is totally different. It's a completely different life. So now it's finding those maybe 3 10-minute windows throughout the day where the kids are resting, doing something, versus having that full hour. You might not have that. Or if you only have 1 10-minute block while the kids are eating in their high chairs, okay, now you're doing squats. Like, it's finding those pockets. And I actually, one of our favorite guys, the guys we love, Jordan Saya, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
He gave a cool, like, put it into perspective. He said, it's like driving a car with your tank empty, and you only have enough money to put like a quarter tank in. Would you just keep driving around with it empty, or would you put that money in to fill in a quarter tank? It's like exactly the all or nothing mentality, and doing what you can with what you have.
Yeah. Or our old coach Steve, who we both worked for, he used to say, if one of your tires was flat, would you jump out and slash the other 3 tires?
I like that one too. Yeah. And then I was sitting here before the call thinking, okay, it's like packing a lunch and then forgetting cutlery. Well, there's no way I'm just going to stare at my food and not eat it. Like, I'm going to find a way to eat that food. I'm going to make it work, because it's there. It's available in front of me. I just have to make it work.
I love these connections. And this is something too, like, this isn't to make you, if you're listening to this, you're like, this isn't to make you feel bad or anything like that. Like, this is a trap that everybody falls into. So 2 times I've fallen into this in my life was, one, when Emerson was born, with the unrealistic expectation that I was going to be able to stay on the same path I was on. And I was rudely awakened, as most people who've had kids know. That shit turns your life upside down. So you aren't going to be ready for the changes that's going to make. And that was hard for me at first. So I did fall into the all or nothing for a bit. until I realized what was happening, and I formed a new plan. But like this is just to say this happens to all of us. It's all about pivoting and looking to find a new way to get towards where you want to get going. It might not look the exact same as your old plan, but that's fine. The second time it happened to me was a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, and I broke my ankle. Same thing. I fell into that all or nothing mindset, limiting myself to what I could do, where we can still look for golden opportunities to get better at the things we are able to do, to spend the time focusing on what we can focus on. But I think I wanted to highlight that this is a human thing. This happens to everybody. It's not something you need to feel bad about. It's a learning opportunity. We always try to own our past so that we can control our future.
I love that. I'm glad you kind of related that back. And I brought it up because I'm currently in that phase, right? It's like I'm alone with a dog for the first time. Normally there's two of us, and I'm moving a house alone. So it's like, when am I supposed to work out? And you feel guilty. Like normally the dog gets walked as much. So now instead of getting my workouts in, I'm going out for longer walks with the dog. Exactly. It's finding those places where, yeah, it might not be as intense as before, but that's okay because I'm still trying to find ways to get movement in. And yeah, it's not to shame because it happens to everyone, even your coaches, even those people you follow online. Like it's happening to everyone at all phases of life.
I always try to look at it like a dial, a volume knob, right? Like if we're currently listening to the music at a 5 out of 10 and something happens, we don't have to go to 0. We don't have to go to 10. We can go to a 6 or a 4. Our health and fitness can be the exact same. If you're coasting right now at a 5, 6, or 7, you can turn it up or down a notch and still continue to hear the music, still continue to move forward. You don't have to, life event, turn it all the way off.
Right. Just turn it down. Yeah, I like that one. Okay. And another one I saw was do I need to take a rest day? Or why are rest days important? And I've talked about this a lot in our coaching group, but I'm not sure how we touched on this too much. It's been a while. So, and it's not often that we see someone say like, do I need to take a rest day or why are they important? But we do get those people that, every single day you're going hard and then things happen. So I think the biggest thing that can happen, the most important to me, is if you're going hard every day, and that's not just with weights, right? That could be someone who does those 30-minute high intensity interval classes. Those are hard on the body. Someone who's out running, picking their pace up or changing their pace or running in the winter, that's hard on the body. So we need to take those rest days because we'll burn out, probably. We will get injured, very likely get injured. And we have to keep in mind that all of these things that we're doing is putting stress on the body in some way, shape, or form, right? And if we're putting continuous high stress on the body every day, then you likely won't, there'll be a point where that progress is going to be stagnant. Like your body's just going to get used to that really high stress, right? And I mean, that's not healthy for us in general.
So the first thing I want to start with here is that most of you aren't overtraining. Most of you have never overtrained. So I don't want people to instantly be like, oh yeah, I'm probably overtraining, because most of us won't. That being said, that all or nothing mindset will get you there very quickly. If you're like, I'm going gung-ho on the first, you're going to go from not training to overtraining very quickly because your body hasn't adapted yet. Okay, so there has to be a slow progression into whatever you are doing. Whatever you're doing now, add 5 or 10% next week. And then add 5 or 10% the next week. And then add 5 or 10% the next week. So if you are training 0 right now, do not try to start training 5 times next week. You will overtrain. Once your body adapts, you're probably going to be fine to do that, but that's going to take time and progression to get up there. And then we can avoid that overtraining. So there's a difference between overtraining in this seasoned athlete or somebody who is training hard regularly and overtraining in the person who's just jumping out of the gate. That person just jumping out of the gate, don't try to get all the way up to a 10 out of 10 on that volume knob by next week, right? If you do that, you will injure yourself, you will overtrain, you will need more rest days. But with slow progression, you probably won't need as much rest day. You'll probably recover fine. This is something that I've been toying with recently too. I know you and I talked about it, so I won't touch on this too much. But I've been increasing my move goal week after week after week leading up to my trip. We're going to Mexico, so every week that I get it, all 7 days, I increase my move goal. Well, this doesn't leave much room for a rest day anymore. So like a day off now where I'm not lifting weights, it's hard to get that move goal. So it means a long walk, which is still a rest day, which I can still hit my move goal, but it's a really long walk now. Or it means taking the time to do a long stretch session or something else that still will get my move calories up, but it will take a little bit longer, but it doesn't take a toll on the body. So it's not that I'm taking a day where I'm not hitting that move goal, because my goal right now is to hit that move goal every single day, but it just looks a little different. It doesn't have to come from the same intensity.
That's actually one of my questions is, what do your rest days look like? And
yeah,
go ahead.
This isn't something that I'm going to do for life. Like Jerrika asked me, how long are you going to do this for? Obviously, it's not sustainable, but I'm pushing myself leading up to that trip. We touched on this a little bit earlier. So right now, my rest days are like a long walk or a very light exercise session. But normally, I would take a more of a rest day, or a more less intense days in general. Right now, I'm pushing myself a little bit harder for a shortened period of time, but I built up the progression to get here. I didn't just overnight say I'm going to start doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rest days don't need to be lay on the couch all day and do nothing, right? It's taking the walk. It's doing a nice mobility session. And if for you doing power yoga 5 days a week is your workout, well, then maybe it's doing like yin or a more calming one on your rest days. That's okay. It's finding a way to pull that intensity back, let your body recover, which is the basis of rest days, and letting it heal. And at the beginning, we kind of touched on the overtraining, but I want to make sure that we all know we don't need to take a rest day. How do I word this? We don't need to be overtraining in order to need a rest day. We all need rest days, even if we're not overtraining. If we're just, doing our 20-minute strength session, we are doing our squats, we're doing our deadlifts, we're doing our shoulder press, whatever it is, we still need rest days in order to recover.
Sure.
We don't have to be at that overtraining point. Our bodies still need that recovery for tendons, ligaments, joints, muscles, everything. So I just wanted to kind of make note of that too. But yeah, my rest days look very similar to yours. I love a good walk, a good stretch sesh. Trying to think what else I do. That's basically my two favorites. I do like to keep moving. I do make a priority. And we talk about this with our clients, and we've mentioned this on the podcast. Even on rest days, we're still looking for 20 minutes of purposeful movement each day, of some type of devoted movement for your body to increase that blood flow.
Yeah, I think you're going to actually recover better. Like you're not going to feel you're not going to feel good just laying on the couch all day, and you're also going to lose some motivation and momentum.
Big time. And think about days that were sore from doing, if you went out and did a big shoveling day or did a bunch of squats one day or whatever you did that made you feel sore, went for a long skate. Well, the next day, getting up and going for a walk or doing something, after that, you typically feel way less sore. So it's always something to keep in the back of your mind.
Awesome. Love it.
Awesome. Those were like the main ones that I kind of saw circulating through. And I think that we went on to talk about a lot of different parts of it.
What I'd love is if people listening to this brought forward some more for us. If you have anything you want to add to this list, or any big questions like these that you'd love to ask us in the future, bring them forward. Shoot us a message, comment below this podcast, wherever you're listening to it. Like we love hearing from you guys as we develop our next topics. Otherwise, we're just making something up that we think you want to hear. But if you tell us what you want to hear, it makes it that much easier for us.
That's awesome.
Do you have a closing piece of advice?
Yeah. So we touched about this with our clients the other day on a call, but I wanted everyone to hear it. Sometimes I think it's worth buying the pre-cut veggies if you're someone who is insanely busy. And I mean, busy is individual to each of us, but if you just have a crazy week, sometimes it's worth buying that bag of broccoli slaw pre-cut or the pre-cut veggies, if that means it's going to be more available to you to throw into a salad, to throw into your wrap, whatever it is. Although you're paying probably a little extra at the time, it'll keep you on track, it'll keep you more motivated, and you'll likely spend less money on junk or those kind of things that you might want to have a little bit less of. So sometimes I do think it's worth it. We always say prep, but sometimes you just got to buy the pre-cut stuff so that you're on track.
Even from, not even from a busyness standpoint, sometimes from a stress standpoint. Like there's a story of it's an analogy or a story, but a person who was so stressed beyond belief, they're going through some really hard times and they couldn't even bring themselves to clean their dishes. So cleaning the dishes was just like such an overwhelming thing in their life that somebody came along and said, well, run it through the dishwasher. And they said, well, the dishwasher won't get it clean because it has so much food on it. It needs to be rinsed, and you pretty much have to wash a dish before you put it in the dishwasher. And they said, run it through the dishwasher twice. And the idea of that seems crazy to us, but if that is going to save you from extra stress, anxiety, time, whatever it might be, there are times in your life when this kind of thing is worth it. You don't need to buy the chopped vegetables forever, but if right now that's going to be what gets you through, then do it. Right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being here. Please share this episode with your friends. We want to get some more viewers, some more listeners. Let us know what you think and reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.